everyone, and welcome to another episode of Just Go With It. I'm Jared. This is Ben.
Hello.
We are making our way through all 10 Best Picture nominees for the Oscars.
Yep.
And today we watched Killers of the Flower Moon. Ben, I'm going to let you go ahead and give your opinion on this film. And
Well, based on my opinion of Oppenheimer, and the length of this film. Okay, no, I'm not going to critique it that hard. This felt like one of those movies where it's like, is very long. It's like 3.5 hours, for goodness sake. It strings you along just enough to keep you interested the whole time. I wouldn't say enough to be engaging. If that makes sense. Like there are parts that are super engaging, but there are other parts that are just like, why do I care about this? And it just felt like it dragged on. Like forever.
yeah. So I was telling you when we were going into it that this is one I was actually looking forward to because I had like seen the trailers before.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a chance to go see it in theaters when it was out, but like I wanted to watch it. I was not impressed.
Yeah.
It was way too long. Like, and that's me saying, like, I loved Oppenheimer. I was fine with the length of that because I felt like everything was justified. I feel like this movie could have been cut to 2 hours. And you could have done it.
Definitely.
Like, you could have cut out an hour and a half of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And another thing, I wasn't ever too attached to any of the characters. I know it's not that kind of movie, but it's like, I don't know. I didn't get engaged in this story as much as I wanted to. I just felt like it was missing something. I felt like it was missing just like this crucial element to make this story more engaging, like you were saying. Like I just felt like some scenes just drug on forever. And then it was like it didn't do a good job at explaining who people were.
Oh yeah.
Things would just happen off screen. Like when I was like, oh, she's pregnant and stuff, and you're like, they already have 2 kids. And I was like, what? Like, and then it like clicked with me. I was like, oh yeah, there were those 2 kids that were hanging around, but like it was never a thing that it was just like, oh yeah, we've had a child, we've had our first child. Here's, like things would just happen. Like time would just fly by, but like not during the movie.
I feel like
this
movie had identity issues. It didn't know if it was, a criminal story. It didn't know if it was a Western. It didn't know if it was a love story. It didn't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I don't know. It's just like, this character is here in this town because, like, I understand it's based off true events, but like, it's still dramatized. Like they can give it some backstory. It's understood. This isn't 100, shot for shot, recreation of history. Like they can put some stuff in there to explain things.
Yeah.
And the ending, I won't get there yet.
Yeah.
But I got stuff to say about the ending.
I have stuff to say about the ending too. But I want to say before that, I thought Leonardo DiCaprio did a really good job. But he always does a really good job,
Yeah,
I thought Robert De Niro did a good job, but he always does a good job. They're good actors. If they did a bad job, it'd be crazier than just them doing another good job.
It was weird. It felt like they had characters in there just for star power.
Yeah.
Like the lawyer is like, he could have just been some dude. But no, Brendan Fraser. Because
John Lithgow as the defense attorney.
They were there for all of like 15 minutes of the movie out of a 3.5 hour movie. It's like, why?
Yeah.
And
an argument could be made that they did the same thing with Oppenheimer. Like they just threw some like famous people in there, like for little scenes. But
I mean, yeah,
I felt like they used those characters better than just these like random lawyers that were just like there for a minute. You know, nobody even like they never even mentioned their names. They were just like these actors. Like that's what you know is from. Like I know that's Brendan Fraser's character. I don't know who he played in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I don't think only person I remember's name is Ernest because that's my
Yeah,
dad's name. That's the only way I remember the main character's name, and that's the main character.
and I remember King. I know it
Yeah,
wasn't
but
even his
that's
real
not
name,
his
but
actual
just
name.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. And then Millie. Or yeah, that was the sister's name. God, what was
I
the
mean
main
that's
woman's name?
Carla. No, 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 no.
No, it started with an M, right?
Was it
Molly?
M?
Was it Molly?
Molly? Maybe.
Really?
Mommy. Mommy.
But I will say, I've heard a lot of people talking about her performance in this. And if I'm
She
not
did
mistaken,
good.
this is like her first movie, like big movie. And I thought she did great. I thought she did a really
Oh
good job.
yeah, I thought she was fantastic.
Yeah.
I was like rooting for
Um,
her. I was like, I felt like I like the way her character itself is. It's kind of a much more reserved kind of person. I like
yeah.
that because so many times they make the woman the you know super passionate, freaking out and over dramatic, and it's like no, she's lived
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
She's been through things. She's not that kind of person.
Yeah. So, I guess ready to say if it's worth your time?
Yeah, I guess we should. You go ahead.
If you are really into American history, then I would, and this plot, this point of time interests you, then yes, I would say it's worth your time because the acting is good. It's a good representation of this historical lesson. If you just like movies and if you just like true story movies, I don't think this is worth your time
Yeah,
at all. I think it's way too long. Like we just happen to have a Sunday free, both of us. Any other
yeah,
day, I don't think
and
I
it's
would we would have
and
made it
it's
through this.
part of the Oscars, so that's why we watched it.
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
we would have actually picked this movie.
Like I said, I wanted to see it from the trailer and stuff, and from the actors that I knew that were in it. I was like, I want to see this. But if I would have just like watched this on my own accord, I probably would have stopped after like an hour. I would have been like, I'm
Yeah,
just gonna look up what happens. Like it didn't grip me at all.
I'm curious. Yeah, okay, we're gonna quickly. Yeah, I don't think it's worth your time. Get past that. Now let's finally get into spoilers. Why? What was the main character, Ernest, actually that stupid in like real life? Like, I'm curious,
I don't
or
know.
did they just make him dumb? Like,
He
okay,
probably did. Like okay, that scene in the
like
beginning.
there's a difference between uneducated and dumb. He felt
Yeah,
dumb.
it felt like he didn't think things through. Like he just acted without thinking. You know, he didn't look before he leapt. But I
Yeah,
think in the beginning, when it's like, oh, do you read books? Do you read? And he's like, I can read. You know, like I think he was kind of like just saying that. I don't think he was really that
yeah,
educated. And
yeah.
he might have learned to read, but you know,
Yeah. It just feels. I know they're setting it up as like the uncle is like the master manipulator,
yeah,
but like I don't know, he just felt too stupid. Like I'm sorry, he just felt like a complete idiot. Like he did things that just didn't make sense. Like the whole movie was about insurance fraud. Like everything was
yeah,
for insurance money. Every single thing was about insurance fraud.
yeah,
And like even the one time where he tried to do it on his own with his car, he tried to get
yeah.
his car stolen so he could get collect insurance money, and he failed. But like, I just, way too long for what it was.
I want to talk about the ending.
Yes, okay, ending. Oh my goodness, I hated it.
Yes. So it ends like there's a last scene where uh Molly and Ernest are talking, and she asks him like, what'd you put in my insulin? Because she knew like he was slipping or something, and he lies, and so like that's it. I guess that was her like final straw. Like if he lies to me about this, I'm done. And even though I'm surprised she gave him that much of a chance, like as soon as you found out like you're involved in like my family's murders, like I'm sorry, that would have been more than enough right there. But
I think she
uh
knew he was stupid though. Like she understood that he was
yeah,
being
yeah.
manipulated.
But still.
Not that that's an excuse. But yeah.
Yeah. But then all of a sudden, like after that happens, it cuts to a radio drama. And I guess it was insinuating this whole thing was like a representation of the radio drama. Because then it continues and then it tells the ending of like what happens to all the characters through that radio drama.
It
It's like
feels
this is a
like
true crime
yeah.
podcast. It felt like a true crime podcast.
It feels like it was like either they did not like the ending or they like one didn't finish shooting, so they just had to like get some people and then throw the director in there. They couldn't actually get any of the actors to come back and actually shoot the final bit.
Yeah.
They just kind of made something up. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Why go through 3 hours and 15 minutes of a movie just for the last 5-10 minutes of it to just be like all radio drama? Why would you do that?
Yeah. I don't know. It just felt so out of place and random. And it's like it wasn't like a plot twist or anything. It's just like, why is the movie all of a sudden doing this? Like, where did this come from? So I don't know. I think you might be right. I think maybe they'd shot the ending, but Martin Scorsese just didn't like how it felt or didn't like how it looked and wanted to reshoot it but couldn't. And maybe they had to do this. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna feel like the only reason this is on the Oscar, I'm really curious to see what they say about it. But the only reason it's even on that list is because the acting was superb.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the acting, this would be like garbage trash.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The story was okay,
Yeah.
but it wasn't 3.5 hours. Okay, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, the acting. Like there's a scene where Ernest is in the jail cell and he gets told that his daughter just died. And it's like, even you said, like, man, Leo wants that Oscar, man. Like he did a really good job in that scene. And he did a good job portraying this character. Like it didn't feel like Leonardo DiCaprio to me. It felt like he was this character. So
yeah, like it was like it was just I don't know. It's like the editing room is where it failed. It felt like
yeah.
In the editing, it felt like the scenes were genuine and awesome. The acting was fantastic. The set design was fantastic. The writing was honestly, I think the writing was pretty okay. It was pretty solid. It was just in the cutting room floor, they just left too much junk in there. Like it was, I get that they spent all this money to film all that, but maybe you should have, been smarter about how much you're filming,
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there was a lot of just wasteful scenes.
Yeah.
And then other scenes where they're moving like 50 million miles an hour. Like where they like got all those people to get themselves killed. It's like, why was the whole movie it's super slow, then all of a sudden pow, 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 pow. I'm like, why is this dramatic change?
Yeah.
And the tone of the movie wasn't serious. It wasn't jokey. It was some weird sort of in between, but it kept shifting. I'm like, I can't pin down the tone of this movie.
Yeah. And
like it didn't feel drama. It felt weird.
I had something I was going to say and now I completely
sorry.
It just left me. No, you're good. Oh, and then it's like the movie's so freaking long, but then the stuff you really want to know, like where are these characters going to end up? Like what happened to these people and stuff. It's just like, sorry to bring this back up, but radio drama. Like we're going to tell you all, we're going to read it from the script. And then King went on to go to jail, and then he got released, and then he died. And then Ernest went to jail, and then he moved into a mobile home with his brother, and then Molly divorced him, and then she died. And then it's just like it's reading the events that happened.
The crescendo of the movie should have been King going to jail. That should have been like that should have been like, climax point, and they just read it to you.
Yeah, and then show like Molly leaving Ernest like for good. Like make it clear that that's what's going to happen instead of just like reading it to you. And I understand like true story movies, maybe this is what they were going for, you know? True story movies usually end with like some writing and just say like, "Oh, this is what happened." Like the Elvis movie and stuff is like, "Oh,
Well, then
this
set it up like that.
yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
act like it's an actual drama and then all of a sudden just throw that in at the end.
Yeah.
If you
Exactly.
had like a beginning with that, maybe a middle with that, kind of points in time that's like bookmark different stages in like in
Yeah. Like
Ernest's life.
it begins with like the radio drama, like that's how the movie starts, and it shows to you like that's what this is the true crime, this is like, oh, this is like a different weird take, and then like at like little checkpoints like you said we cut back and then it ends like that. But just pulling this out of nowhere and just being like, it's a radio drama, it's been it the whole time.
For goodness sake, if it was actually like in third person, there was no
Yeah.
narration, it was just first person, stuff just happens.
Yeah.
There was no narration. It just, like, if there was a narrator actually talking about these events, it makes sense. But there wasn't until the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like that was just tacked on in the end. It really does.
I'm interested to see what we both rated so when it comes to the Oscars. But
That's like, I felt
can't say for now.
this whole, like, conversation right here feels so very just annoying. And, like, I can't even be like, oh, that was a good conversation, because, like, this movie was just, ugh.
Yeah, it was exhausting. Like there were times where I was like, man, I could probably close my eyes for 10 minutes and Ben wouldn't notice.
I literally was falling asleep at points. I'm like, ugh. I like had to pull out my phones. I was like so bored. Like I was like, oh hey Jared, our video, and I was like talking to you about the video.
And I do want to say, I did do my best to pay attention. And I know it's harder to do it at home than at the movies, but it's like, I feel like even if I was at the movies, I would be like, come on, man. Like, let's get going. Let's do something. Let's I can't even talk. This movie's left me speechless. And not in a good way.
It feels like the turning point for the whole movie should have been at the explosion. That was kind of a big event. It should have like picked up the pace from there, you know?
Yeah. And even that was like an hour and 45 minutes in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right, dude. I think we complained about this movie enough. There's almost 18 minutes worth of complaining.
It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, there were good components, but just, I would never in a million years watch this again. So
it needs to not be 3.5 hours. It should be like an hour and a half or something.
Yeah.
Or even 2. Oh my goodness. All right. So how many we got left?
4 left.
Hey Google, give me a number between 1 and 4. All right.
Here's a random number.
3.
Okay. The next movie we're going to watch is called The Holdovers. And it's like a comedy drama, kind of. It's
another comedy drama.
It seems like a very comforting movie from what I've seen. And I'm really excited to see it. No, not like Past Lives comforting, that kind of thing. Like, it feels like good. It feels like more American Fiction. That's what I kind of feel like I'm getting the vibe from.
Yeah, that's what I'm so sick of these slow movies. I need another Barbie. Come on. Can we just watch Barbie again?
Well, I'm sorry, Ben. You're just going to have to go with it.